Mark is muted, Judy.
Oh, okay. I'm just working through this. Okay. So it doesn't seem to be working. That's what I thought was going to happen. I have it open, and I hit share screen, but it didn't have. Okay, what am I going to do? Okay. Okay, just a second here. Sorry, guys. Okay, I'm going to start again. Okay. Share screen. Okay, Rob, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so when I hit share screen, it brings me up a bunch of choices, and one of them is desktop, which is where I want to go, because that's, but it's got an exclamation mark there. So I don't know where I'm supposed to go then.
If you click desktop, it just gives you an exclamation mark.
Well, it's got an exclamation mark on it, and
Yeah,
so
I would click on it.
click share. Okay, and it says open system preferences, allow Zoom to share your screen. Okay.
Yeah.
And then it pops up with all my
So what the issue is, Judy, is you've never set your computer up to authorize screen sharing. That's why it's doing that. Once you do that, you won't have to do it anymore.
okay.
So you just do it.
So,
and it should work.
So is that an easy thing to do, Connie, or how do I do that then? I didn't know.
Yeah, you should be able to just go into preferences and then just allow
Okay.
allow it. That's all. Like,
Well,
allow
that
Zoom
okay.
to share.
Okay, system preferences. Yeah. Okay. Just a second here. Sorry, people.
It's okay. I got here late and I, didn't have any entertainment. So
It's not working. Oh, crap. Does somebody want to go ahead of me? I'm so sorry. It's not.
Judy, you might have to bump out of Zoom, go
Yeah.
into your preferences, go to the Zoom preferences, allow for sharing, and then come back into the Zoom meeting.
So it's the Zoom preferences I have to go?
Yeah,
No,
it's your
not the
Zoom preferences.
Okay. All right. I'm going to back out and do that. Mark, whoever's on next, I'm going to leave the meeting, okay, and then come and do that. Okay, Mark, where are you?
Mark is muted.
There we go. I'm unmuted now. Okay, so I guess I'll go ahead and
Sorry, Mark. Sorry.
oh, it's boy, you owe me lots.
I know, but just keep that list going. Okay.
Yeah, keep that
I'll be right back.
tab going here. And of course, I was just off my Zoom for a second there, so there we go. I will screen share that. All right, can everybody see my photo journey so far?
Yes.
All right.
yep.
So this was a topic of mine, is my photo journey so far, and it goes back. I'm old, so it goes back a long way to junior high, and we learned how to do photography in one of the classes there, and we had a dark room set up, and so it was really interesting, and that was kind of the start of my interest. And my first camera was the good old, in the top left there, the Pocket Instamatic 110, or Kodak had there. And my first SLR was next to it. It was the Zenit EM. I worked at Sears in the Parkland Mall in high school, and I got a deal on that camera. It was for the Moscow Olympics that didn't go over too well in 1980. But being a broke student, I didn't do too well with it, and it was costly for me. And well, just getting out of high school, beer took precedence over buying rolls of film. So I didn't stick with it. And then moving into the 90s, I primarily shot on a video camera. I didn't do stills. I did family stuff, and I had a son that played hockey through minor hockey years, and another one that boxed. So I do some of their events, and I did an annual video for whatever hockey team it was, a highlight video for the end of the year kind of thing. And I did that for about 7 years. And as my son kind of got out of minor hockey, that's when I picked up my first DSLR, the Canon Rebel XS. With a little kit lens. It was fairly cheap, but it was something to learn on. And that's when I started to get gassed, the gear acquisition syndrome, because I just started buying stuff. Even though I was not the greatest at choosing it, I just wanted stuff. So I moved through the Canon line and went to the 60D, 70D. And my favorite of the crop sensors was the 7D Mark II. I had that one for quite a while. And then I even got into the full frame Canon, the 5D. Started off with the 5D Classic, just a used thing there. And then I ended up with the 5D Mark III and IV at the end of my Canon life. While I was still with Canon, I picked up a Sony A6000, I believe that it was. And it was a Boxing Day sale. I thought I'd try out mirrorless, and I ended up selling it for more than I bought it for. I didn't see any point at that time for spending money on lenses for two different kits, and I still enjoyed my Canon. So sold it, and then I tried their M5. I used an adapter to adapt my E series, the EF series lenses for that, but again, didn't really put much into it. I stayed with the full frame until I met Fuji, and I'm doing the Fuji stuff now, and I really enjoy the feel of their cameras. And had the X-T3 when it came out in 2018, and now I'm primarily using the X-T4. And also on the bottom left there is the XE3. It's just great, fits in your pocket, little rangefinder style. I got a 27 millimeter lens from Hank a while back there, and you just jam it in your pocket, and it's great for going on walkabouts and with the grandkids and stuff like that. So that was my that's my cameras. I thought I'd sneak that in there because it was hard to show all this stuff. I should put it in slideshow mode. Hard to do all this based on 5 pictures. So again, like I said earlier, I'm not a great photographer by any means. It's just something I enjoy. So this is kind of my photo journey. So this first picture was taken on my bridge camera, Olympus SP510. And according to the data that I have on it, this was an ISO 800, 1/200th of a second image. It was taken September of 2008. What it means is, to me, is this is my son's first weekend in junior hockey. He went out to Humboldt, Saskatchewan, and he was still 6 weeks shy of his 18th birthday. So first time away from home, living with another family. Actually, first weekend, he was sleeping on their couch. They didn't have a bedroom yet. And so my wife and I drove out to Humboldt. I'm from Red Deer. I'm sure, well, I drive a little fast, so I'd like to say it was about 5.5 hours, but it was probably a bit more. we went out there, and this is where I took this image in that home opener in Humboldt. And Jeff was he got 2 shutouts in his first 2 starts with Humboldt, and Humboldt was he played 3 years of junior hockey, and Humboldt was his favorite place where he played 3 different teams, and then he moved on to college hockey in the States. But it's the meaning to this. I mean, like, the camera wasn't great. The image is pretty grainy, but it still has meaning to me. And it also got me interested in doing some of the sports photography. I don't really label myself as one or the other, portrait or anything like that. But I did enjoy the sports photography, and Jeff's hockey coach in midget AAA in Red Deer was Trevor Keeper, who's now the Red Deer College Kings coach. And I did talk to Trevor, and I went for a couple of years, and I started a project with the College Kings where I created a Flickr page for the players, and I would go out to all their home games and just take shots wandering around the rink of the players. And then they had the capability of downloading all those pictures of themselves, because the young fellas like to see themselves and show it to their girlfriends and stuff. So I did that for a couple of years, and then the Canada Winter Games, I got involved in that too. A lot of you guys were there too, and I really enjoyed the sports photography there. This image, the next one, is that was taken with my first DSLR, the Rebel XS, with the kit lens that was EF S18 to 55, and according to the data on that one, it was f5.6 at 1.6 seconds at ISO 800. This was taken in New York City. We're beside the Brooklyn Bridge. If you look on the far right, you can see the Brooklyn Bridge right there, looking over at Manhattan. And in the center is a place called Pier 17, where there's a bunch of restaurants and shops, and I think there's a concert area. And then right beside that, there's a maritime museum there. So it was a neat area. And this picture's, it had meaning to me. This was our 25th wedding anniversary and our first trip to New York. Didn't know what to expect. And I said I had my new DSLR with me, so snapping away pictures, but I didn't have tripod or anything like that. So I had to do this handheld, and we were on a bus tour, so I was really limited in time. So you can see in the center of the picture, there's some silver caps on there, and they were posts holding up this fence by the water taxi. So I was able to balance my camera on the post while I handheld it to try and get as steady as possible. And unfortunately, there was a couple of people still walking in front, but I didn't want to miss the bus back. So I had to have some blurry people in my picture too, but that's okay. I see Kristen's on the meeting tonight. So sorry, Kristen, I didn't ask you if I could put this up, but so moving along with my photography, this was a full frame Canon camera. This was with my 5D Mark III, 85 millimeter prime lens. This was taken at f1.8, 4,000ths of a second at ISO 100. I can tell you it was taken May the 3rd, 2017, at a destination wedding of my son Joel to Kristen, who's a member here too. And so sorry, Kristen, if I didn't ask your permission to show this, but what it means to me is obviously it was a special day for us for the wedding, and being a destination wedding meant that there was a lot of family and friends that couldn't join us. So I wanted to make sure I took a lot of images throughout the week that we were there, and I also worked on a video of the week. And then when we got back to Red Deer later on, we were able to show the video in the background and some of the images up on a screen while we had the reception. But I wanted to make sure that people that couldn't go on the trip were also able to enjoy some of the stuff. So I tried to be on my best behavior and take some decent stuff. The problem with the wedding is it was fairly booked when we were there. So the resort made an exception for us, and they let us use their gazebo for a noon wedding. So of course, being high noon, it was very bright, very warm. It was, like I said, May the 3rd. So for this image, the wedding ceremony was over. The professional photographer had put his gear away and left. And my wife and I and Joel and Kristen went, found a little bit of shade and tried to find a bit of breeze to cool down a little bit, and see if I could get a couple of images myself. This image here was also one of the first times that I'd really tinkered with filters in Lightroom. I don't do a lot of editing, post-editing. It's just I'll maybe brighten some things up if needed, try and cover a couple of things, but I don't really mess with the filters and stuff. But I did on this one, and that was my first attempt at that. But so that's picture 3. Moving along again, now we're out of the full frame, and I've gone back to the crop sensor. I'm into the Fuji now. This was taken with my Fuji Film X-T3. I have it's a 16 to 80 millimeter lens, which is great for travel, and so that was used here. It was at 25 millimeters f10, 1/250th of a second. The ISO was 160. This was in November, I say mid-November of 2019. And I tried to look up what kind of tree this is. I think they call it an ohia tree, but I'm not sure. And this was taken between Olowalu Beach and Ukumihami Beach Park along the Piilani Highway. It's hard to pick pictures for something like this. I have lots of images that I love of Maui, but I really like this tree. and traveling along this highway, if you're ever in Maui and you go from Lahaina on the west side and you're heading down to Ma'alea, there's lots of places to pull in, and there's lots of beaches, just small beach areas. A lot of the locals use it. There's lots of photo opportunities where there's driftwood and dead trees, just kind of the ocean lapping them up. You'll see fishermen. There's quite a few fishermen out there. There's paddle boarders. We saw a monk seal out there one time. And if you go this time of year, you would probably even see the humpback whales breaching from this area as well. And there's lots more places in Maui that we love, but just the way this tree was just kind of drew me to it. So that's why I selected this one. And my last image, this was taken with an iPhone. This is my iPhone 12 Pro. This was September the 4th of this last year. And this was the hot air balloon event that Sherry invited the club to go shoot that weekend. For a cell phone picture, I really like it. And I don't know. It just, the sun behind the trees, the clouds, the balloons. I ended up putting this, I made a 6x18 and put it in a frame on my wall, this one. It was, the circumstance was I just pulled up into the yard and they were starting to, the balloons were starting to leave. So I kind of had my bag with me and I was loading a lens on and I was doing some stuff and I thought, I'm going to miss some of this because I wanted to change lenses. And I thought if I change the lenses on my camera, I might miss something here. So I grabbed my cell phone quick and I took 3 or 4 images on this and then I stitched them together. I don't use Photoshop, I use Affinity Pro, which is very similar. So I stitched them together in Affinity Pro after, and this is This is the image I came up with. And so I carry my cell phone everywhere, and I do take a lot on it. But if I'm doing something, of course, if I'm going somewhere, like we went to the what's it called, the zoo lights at the Calgary Zoo with the grandkids, then yeah, I'm taking a camera for sure. It's not just a cell phone. But I wanted to include this because it is something that I do use in my photography, and I, for, like I said, a cell phone picture, I just I liked it. So that is mine. Is there any questions?
That was great, Mark. I don't know if I can follow that.
Oh, sorry.
No, that was really
Yeah.
good. They're great stories too. I like it.
Yeah, and I saw a couple of comments, and thanks, Michelle. Yeah, the Humboldt. Yeah, it was special. That community is special, and of course, with that bus tragedy there,
Mhm.
it was. It's something we still talk to the billets that he had, and even for me as a parent, to go to a game out in Humboldt, the small farming community, their love of the game, their love of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They would take out a big screen and a projector, and they would tailgate in the parking lot at the Edgar Peterson Arena there, and they'd tailgate that until game time, and then they'd all pile in, and it was just special. And he played a couple other teams, and it just wasn't the same. And yeah, and he's still got the jersey. He actually got traded because they were such a strong team that year. He was, like I said earlier, he was 17 going on 18. They ended up picking up a 20-year-old goalie for their run for the cup, and you can't blame them for that. But because he wasn't up the wind-up, the billets that he had, they had an auction on the jerseys, and the billets made sure that they bid on that jersey to get it for him. So it's we have a lot of fond memories from Humboldt for sure.
Great.
But that's it. So I'll stop sharing, and we can see if we can get it back to Judy.
Okay, well, I'll try now. I set my system preferences to sharing. I couldn't find it on Zoom, Connie, so I just sent, so we'll see if this works. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's see what happens. I don't think it's going to work. Where's my system preferences?
Who's next on the list? Did we want to go to them? And
Yeah, go to them. Sorry,
Did you-
guys.
if it doesn't work for you, you could email it to my home, and then I could bring it up on my screen for you.
Oh, you might have to do that. Okay, I'll try again. Sorry, guys. Go to the next one.
Who was next on the list? Do you remember?
Let's see here. Just a second here.
I have Curtis down as being next.
I know,
Okay.
I was hoping you
Thanks,
wouldn't
Jenny.
notice that.
All right, Curtis, you want to go ahead?
Judy's having that much trouble. I hate to think what I have. 'cause
Well-
I do this technical
You'll
geek
probably
stuff
be just
like-
fine.
So, but I did try it the other night with my sister, so.
Oh, good
and
for
all
you.
I did was click share screen too, so I hope this works.
Good for you. I should have done that. Okay, go ahead.
I'm not near as prepared. I don't know how I'm gonna do 10 minutes worth to keep up with Mark, but we'll see here. So all I'm supposed to do is click share screen. Oh yeah, and I get the same thing Judy got. Oh, wait a minute, no. Eric, can everyone see that?
Yep.
Yep.
Mhm.
Good.
My picture?
Yep, that's good.
Yeah. You can
Oh,
see it.
good. Well, we might get away with this, if even it only lasts 2 minutes, at least I got something on the screen. Anyway, I've been playing with photography since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. I've been through all phases, tried everything at least once. A lot of it, I said, nope, that's not for me, especially when it comes to mostly people pictures, but I used to try and go take nature and I'd try and keep people out of the picture. Over the years, things have evolved. Had my own dark room and did all my own photo processing. Was into building audio visuals for years. But the last few years, I seem to have gone into classic car photography. That's the majority of my stuff. And when I go to a car show or whatever, most of the cars are all crammed in so darn tight and everything. You can't take the whole car. So I kind of swung by and now I'm doing reflections. I look for reflections in automobiles that I reflect both myself. If you look close in here, you can see me squatting down here, taking a picture from behind the car into this headlamp, this nice chrome headlamp. And of course, it is a car show, so I wanted to show the people all crouched over and talking about this fancy car that I'm shooting and not be a part of it. I try to line it all up to get the biggest portion of the picture that I'm trying to portray. In this one, I managed to keep the background sort of blurry, and I've got the hedge of the hood line in there just to tell the complete story. Like this is a car show and the chrome's all polished up. And so, and then most of the camera I've down now to the micro four thirds. And I think everything I show here is taken with the Olympus OM series, micro four thirds. And I use a number of lenses, but usually in the car show, I pack around my 12 to 200, and that covers the whole range of what I want to do. Some pictures in the car show, I got a Rokinon fisheye lens that really makes for some unique pictures and stuff, but it's, I don't think I've portrayed any of them there. Most of it's just reflections in different car parts and that I'm showing tonight. So if anyone has any questions or whatever, please just come up on chat because I don't know how I'm going to talk for 10 minutes on the shows. I'm not the speaker that Mark was, that's for sure. Now, how do I change pictures here? Well, here we go. Can we still all see that?
Yep.
Good, because I went to full screen. Okay, so this is again the same one, only I'm a little closer, and this gives you the otter angles and the different car parts. Sometimes it's really hard to believe that this is all one vehicle. I'm squatting beside the passenger door, and this is the reflection that you get in the mirror, or in the headlamp, I should say. And of course, this is the front wheel of the car. So it's really, you can really see the distortion in the different aspects the different car parts give you. Eh? This is actually it's actually a open hood deal. So kind of unique, and those are the kind of things I go for. You can still see the vehicles in the background, that it is some sort of car show, the vehicles in the back. It's almost impossible to try and take these pictures without being in it yourself. So most of my pictures are all identified by a picture of me. gives you an interesting perspective of car parts. And the one thing I really want to take out when you're out shooting car shows, I guess one of the big warnings is people are very protective of their cars, and they kind of give you a dirty look if you're wandering around with a camera bag slung over your shoulder, or you're walking around with a tripod and trying to set up close to their vehicle or whatever. They kind of shudder at that. But the different heights and angles that you actually view these in this picture here, this is just actually the front bumper of the car. So can you see my mouse? Does that outline things?
Yes, you can see it.
Yeah, okay, so that's just the bumper, and then this is the front wheel here with the hubcap in the back. Again, there's two different versions of me because of the contours in the molding of the bumper. It creates this kind of distortion of this car. And again, this is the reflection of the car beside this bumper. That's this front bumper's on, eh? And again, it does show a car show, the people walking around enjoying all these vehicles. And this is actually a bumper bolt mount, and you can actually see the reflection of the car in the bumper mount. So if you really get studying these reflections in these car shows, you can go on and on and on, and you'll find the black, the nicely highly polished black, really give you some really tremendous pictures, especially if they have a bright yellow car or red car beside them or whatever. It really picks it up. And then there's also the hubs, and it's just endless of the different pictures you can actually take. There's very little cleanup in any of these pictures. The cars are usually this polished. I do enhance them a little bit in Photoshop, and to bring out more contrast or control the contrast, and to bring out the punch in the colors. So other than that, I don't do a whole lot. Some of them are cropped a little bit to get what I'm really looking forward to. So now then, this is the same picture of the same car, only you can see in the other one I was squatting, and here's the fold in that bumper. And there's the bumper bolt again that we were taking just this angle. But when you stand up, just a different angle of view totally changes the picture you can get. So it's nothing to spend, 20 or 30 pictures on one little reflection for different angles and views and of the car. Eh? Sometimes I try to take enough of the car that you can actually figure out what it's reflecting in. Sometimes I don't care. I'm just after the reflection. So, and of course, the shapes of people are quite interesting in the shapes of bumpers and the sides of cars. And like here, you can see my feet are really quite a long ways from my upper body. And so have I raised any questions yet? Okay, so then this one, and then you can go like in all these, there's all different types of vehicles. This is actually in the hub wheel of a big truck. And this is what they've used to show off. Some of those trucks, they spend millions of dollars converting these trucks into showpieces. Like the truck itself is worth a small fortune, and then they add all this chrome and do all this fancy stuff to it. And they're still a working truck in most cases. But this is the wheel of the truck, and these are the actual lug nuts or part of the hubcap. They've got to be bolted on in that size of vehicle. So it's probably a sort of a type of lug nut or covering the lug nuts of some sort, and just the reflections in it. And you can actually make out all the different reflections, different parts of the truck reflecting in the circular of this hubcap. And it makes for an interesting shot. Confusing, some people find it too much, but there's a lot of interesting different reflections in there. of basically the same thing.
Curtis,
Yes.
what lens did you say you used to do this?
Well, most of the lenses I use, and I didn't record like Mark as to what each picture is, but this was probably taken with a 12 to 200 lens that I use most of the time at most of these car shows. Because it's nice and convenient, easy to pack over the shoulder, a small bag. Yeah, and also in that small lens type bag I got, I can also pack Rokinon fisheye, which is an 8mm fisheye. And sometimes I'll use a 7 to 14mm. And this being on a micro 4/3 camera, it's all 2 times that. So my 8mm actually becomes a 16mm fisheye. And the 7 to 14 becomes a 14 to 28. So in the 35mm equivalent. Don't ask me why they do that figures, but it's a 2 times multi when with the micro 4/3 camera.
Curtis, Michelle was asking what focal length you typically use.
Well, it varies on the picture, and it depends how close I can actually get in to get the reflection that I want, because it really depends on the angle again of the reflection that I'm trying to portray. So this one, like, it would be a real guess, and I wouldn't even give a guesstimate. I suppose I could have gone into and figured it out. It would give you in your file, it's saved with all the digital pictures, eh? But I didn't go to that extent. It was a little short notice trying to prep this picture. And by the time I found 5, or actually, I actually picked 10 that I really wanted to talk about. And I didn't bother going into the file to get all the statistics that you're looking for. Sorry, Michelle. So then the odd time they got cars are spaced, or you can be lucky enough. This one was probably taken with a 7 to 14 because there would have been another car right in this very corner here where I'm trying to shoot. There's usually not a lot of space between them, but sometimes you can luck out. But if you look at this picture, most people walk by this and that's all they see is the car. But if you look real close at all the different reflections that are in this car, you could spend a long time shooting the pictures. There's each hubcap here has got its reflection in it. There's a reflection of the car show throughout the car body. And even the curvature or reflections in and around the fender wells here and the fenders, the people in the front, and then there's the headlight reflections here and here. And if you look in really close and can get in close enough, there'll probably be certain reflections in all the chrome that's on there. Right? You see here in the chrome, even on the bumper. So it's endless once you start studying around and looking for these things. And most people walk by and they never see that kind of stuff. Eh? There's the hood ornaments, there's each individual headlight. Like, it's just endless at a car show. The photography is endless if you want to take the time. The big problem is keeping people away from what you're trying to shoot, because they'll walk in front of you and they don't realize what angles you're trying to take or what you're even trying to do, eh? So there is all that.
It's interesting, the reflections that you're getting. You've got the headlamps and the horns, and you got the concave and the convex angles that you got there. So the horns are actually inverted reflections. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. So then I think here I'm trying to zoom in. I get a little closer on the same vehicle. Now you can really see the reflections of the vehicle in the car and the car show and all the curvature in the fenders. That's when it really shows up, eh? Here's a little bit in the front bumper. Okay. Like I said, the black sometimes and where they're parked, it makes a big difference too. The shaded areas, it can really bring out reflections. And so here we got the reflections in the headlamp of this car. And this is all of the car parked beside it. And you can see the different distortions in it, how the trees are, the curvature of the fender gives you another whole blend and another whole. I really like this picture, the way it's all framed in the reflection, the trees, the way they curve over the car. It's really quite unique.
Curtis,
And again-
the blue and the red really is striking too, like the blue sky
Yes.
and the red. Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
good.
Colors, and then you can see in the front bumper here again, and the hubcap. These moon rings, they make for some, or moon hubcaps, they make for some really interesting pictures. Got thousands of those. The color in the car is so strong, you can see how it's even reflected into the ground beneath the car, eh? The strong red. And then there's always people joking around. This is actually my Lizzie parked here. This is my 49 Merc. And this is in a friend's, his moon cap. And the brother-in-law, he's down here joking and trying to study the car and jerking around. So I made kind of an interesting picture. And you can see some people really polish up their vehicles and some don't bother polishing them too much at all. This is not a dirty lens or whatever. It's a dirty hubcap. I told him he had to clean his car better. And then you can see the street, how it's reflected here in the beauty ring. So there's always interesting pictures and the design and the changes, how it distorts everything, and it makes my car look so short and stubby, and the way it's parked in the curb there. And it's just the curvature. These are all the problems that the lens makers have to, they try and take the distortion out of these lenses. And when, for my type, I kind of like the extra distortion. And when I get out with my fisheye lens, it can make some really interesting distortion in the vehicles and that I'm shooting. But, if you're after a grill or something, it can really make some unique pictures. So I think I've already shown more in my 5, but have I been in my 10 minutes yet, Judy? Or
I don't
more?
know, Curtis. I haven't been keeping track. I'm just coming back on.
No, that's good.
I'm sure you could show a couple more. That's just fine.
Anyway, I think this is getting down to, anyway, this is on the Continental kit on some cars. This actually is on a Galaxy 500, and he's added this Continental kit to it, which includes the spare tire mount off the back end of the car. But he had a nice chrome cap over his spare tire here. And I thought this was kind of a unique perspective. It's actually reflected back down the street, again, to show the car show. But I thought the clouds in the sky and the way it distorted the street lamp here, all in the back of this picture, it kind of made for a unique picture. You can see that it's actually a Galaxy 500. I'm not sure the year of it. It's probably in the early 60s model. But anyway, those that know their cars better than me would probably be able to pick it up. What's that?
64.
Yeah, it's kind of figured, that sounds about right. With the taillights and that reflected in this car, so. And then this was part of the street grass. I mean, it gets a little bit much to go in and take it all out, but this was on a flower pot on the street that actually was in the view of the picture. He's all backed up almost to the curb. And these are that type of grass or whatever part of the flower plot that's growing in here. So And I think that looks about all the pictures that I had. So if anyone got any questions on my photography or how I create or do some of this stuff?
Linda was wondering if this was Didsbury, some of these images.
Some of, could have been. I think there's some in Rocky and but I travel all over, so, and to remember which one's which, I'd have to go back and look at the date and where I was.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Curtis.
Really good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, how do we get out of this? Here we go. There.
There we go.
I should be
Good
back.
job, Curtis. Better than me.
Oh,
Mark, I don't know if it's going to work. I did email it to you. Oh, you got it. Okay.
All right, there it is.
Okay, so now,
Oops, I gotta slow down because okay.
okay, so you'll just press it as I go. Okay.
Yeah,
So before you start, sorry about the trouble, guys, everybody. So I think everybody has a lot of, I don't know, I do. I have a lot of images that head into the trash bin. And I got to thinking, maybe I should try and revive some of them. And just for practice, right? Maybe see what I've been doing wrong or whatever, try and fix them. But in especially with landscape photography, I find that what I take a picture of isn't really what comes out of the camera. So what I see sometimes isn't what I get. So for the next few images, that's what I was going to try and replicate what my eyes saw. So you can go to the first one there, Mark. So this is an image. One spring morning, I went out to a pond near Sylvan Lake, and then the sun was coming up, and the light was shining on this blade of grass, dried grass, and it just looked lovely. And when I looked at it, I didn't see the fence. You know, I just saw the nice light on the grass. But when I got home and looked at this picture, I thought, how boring. It's just terrible. So the next picture, Mark.
sorry, I was muting somebody there. There we go.
The next picture, I got it to where I sort of thought it wasn't too bad, but the wire was still in there. So then the next picture is where I have it right now. So I thought that is more what I saw, even though it probably wasn't what I saw. So I thought it was a little, I thought it made it a better image. So the next one. And this is what a lot of my landscape night photography images come out like. They come out on an angle. And so I have to work on that. But this was out at Gull Lake. We went out there to take the Milky Way, and we didn't realize that the lighthouse out there and the lights across the lake would create quite a bit of light pollution. So the Milky Way wasn't very strong, but I wanted to get at least one picture from that night that that I could say was from Gull Lake, was Milky Way, because we haven't been back there yet to do that again. So I worked at it, and I went from this to this. So I thought, it isn't the greatest image, it isn't the greatest Milky Way shot, but at least I have one from the lake. So I was able to revive that one. Now I think the next image is my little granddaughter. It was her first birthday, and I really like this image of her holding the little skirt, and I didn't get another one from it. So I thought, how can I fix this one? I didn't like the light coming in on the head. I don't know if that was an overhead light. I don't remember. So, and I chucked so many away, but I thought, I'm going to try and fix this one. So I worked on it, and the next image, Mark, is what I got. So I brightened it up. I lightened the chair in the background. I made it gray instead of green. And yeah, so this is an image that I was able to keep and be happy with. The next image is another landscape. And again, I was driving around the country and the shadows on these fields was just fantastic. But when I got home and looked on the computer, this is what I had. And I thought, gee, it isn't what I saw. So what I did, the next one, is that. And that is more what I saw, because it really was deep green and the shadows. And I made it sort of a panoramic, which sort of lent itself to the field picture. So the next image is actually going to be 3 images. This is St. Michael's Church near Camrose, and 3 of us drove out there hoping to get some sunset, but the sky was pretty, there was nothing there, no color. But we took a lot of pictures anyways, and I don't want to replace the sky in it or anything. So I kept the picture. So that's one picture, and then go to the next picture. And this is another picture that was taken out east of Red Deer, out towards Huxley. And then the next picture. And this is just out east of Red Deer when I was looking for aurora one night, and I saw these little deer in the field. So I took these 3 pictures that you've just seen and made the next picture.
Should we have a drum roll?
Yeah, drum roll. That picture. So it's it's a composite, of course, but it's also a little bit of abstract, a little bit of artsy. Yeah, so I hadn't done this kind of work much before, so I just thought I would try that for this presentation. And I was kind of happy with the way this kind of turned out. So I thought maybe I could use it for a Christmas card next year or something.
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah. So that's my befores and afters. And thanks, Mark, for getting it to work.
Oh, wow. No, that was great. Yeah, that Christmas card thing, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah. So you'll know what your Christmas card's going to look like.
Yes, if I ever get it, just like my other invite.
Oh dear.
Who was next on the list?
Okay, well, I think I was next. I guess I
think
was the
you
only
were.
one that wrote down the list, secretary.
Yes, secretary.
All right,
Yeah.
so I think I'm next. So let me see if I can do this. What does that look like?
Yeah, we got her.
Good.
And
Okay.
you're a pro.
Okay, wait a minute though. Got to go to the first slide. Okay. All right, now can you guys see me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so this is a how I do it, but I'm just a beginner for my snowflakes. Is my picture behind all the people? Are my
Your picture,
snowflakes behind?
you're full screen on mine.
Okay, perfect. Because you guys are on top of part of my full screen, so it's all good for me. All right, perfect. Yeah, so I'm going to show you about some of my snowflakes, and I'm not just going to show them. I'm going to run through really quickly what I do. Oh. How do I do, it won't advance to the next one like it did when I practiced. Oh, there it is. Okay. This is the stuff I use. My Canon 80D, a Manfrotto Be-Free tripod. I don't know if anybody knows what that looks like, but that's what I use. And I use dark colored plexiglass. And I just pick it up at the glass shop, just small piece. And I don't know, here is the piece of my plexiglass that I use. And a small piece that fits right under the lens better, and especially like with, it's kind of crookedy here in the corner, and workout on the table, and which you'll see in a minute. And this little thing fits right underneath my lens if there's a nice snowflake on it. And then I wear warm clothes. That's huge, because even though I'm working in my garage most of the time, I'll run out and get snowflakes and I'll come back in and put them under my camera. It gets cold. Extension tubes. I have a set of 3, a 36, 20, and a 12. And I usually use all 3. And then editing, I use Lightroom. Okay, so here's my basic steps. First of all, like on Sunday, it started snowing. I don't know if you guys remember that. And the flakes were coming down and I'm like, they're great, beautiful. But I was in the middle of something. I was baking. I couldn't leave my stuff in the oven. So I had to wait. But while things were cooking, I got everything ready. And you have to check the snowflakes, because sometimes when the snow comes down, it's just chunks of ice and it doesn't look very good. A couple times when I've gone out, pulled the car out of the garage, and the snowflakes are hitting the windshield and they're like, perfect. I'm like, no, I can't leave now. I have to take pictures, but I usually have to go and do my jobs. All right, so the best temperatures are between -10 to -20. Check for the size and quality of the snowflakes before you set up anything, because you'll be disappointed if they're yucky snowflakes. And I've used both natural light and artificial. And I put all the equipment in the garage or outside to cool down, especially the plexiglass. Like the camera isn't as big a deal, but if the plexiglass is warm, then the snowflakes just melt. And I set up and pre-focus the equipment. So I put my tripod up and I get my extension tubes on and everything. And then I just use like a little corner of a piece of paper or something really, really thin, whatever I can get my hands on, and stick it under the lens and get all focused up. And then basically when I stick a snowflake under there, I just have to tweak it. So then I go out and, so I set up and pre-focus the equipment using my LCD display. So I do use the back of the camera, which runs the battery, but that's cool. If I'm just working at home, I can usually have the second battery ready and stuff. And I usually set up in front of a south window, which happens to be where the workbench and garage is, which is what you can see there on that yucky picture. And I have used a little flashlight just for trying sometimes. And I catch some snow in the plexiglass and put under the lens. Oh, and I use my remote so I don't touch the camera. And then I go in and warm up once in a while, but I leave the equipment out there and just warm my own body up. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna have to move you guys out of the way because they can't see this info. I don't think I can do that. I don't have a cursor, but you guys are gonna have to read that yourselves because you're covering up my information. You can see that. So it's my image, and I use a 50mm all the time with my extension tubes. That's what I use. But you'll notice there's all different lengths of time. This one was 5 seconds. And it looks like ISO 100 maybe. And yeah, I don't do the focus stacking or any of that. These are one-shot images. And I just try and, make sure that I can get as close a focus to all of the snowflake as possible. And sometimes I get really lucky, and that's my skill, is getting lucky. All right. And this one is 1 second, and ISO 800. So I just experiment. I don't have a one-shot, one meal fits all situation. One day I'll set it up one way and I'll have a higher ISO, and another time it'll be lower. I try to go low, but if that's not working, I pump it up. And yeah, so these ones have landed really flat on my plexiglass. So, they're beautiful to get in full focus. And you'll notice in a few more slides, I'm going to show you an original unedited one. And they have lots of these little snowflake bits. And I've had to edit that out. And sometimes, you can't separate them. I know some people Don, what's his name? Komarichka or something. He does all the snowflakes, and he uses a brush and he separates the snowflakes. I'm like, I'm not touching them. If I see a good snowflake, that's what I'm taking a picture of right there. But this was a double one that worked out just beautifully. And this one, I don't know. I don't know what about it. I just love it. It should have been focus stacked and it would have been even more awesome. But the way the two planes of the snowflakes are both in focus, like I say, it was luck. It was how it fell on the slide, on the plexiglass, and it's kind of one of my favorites. I like that one. So here's the picture that I have of the original, and this is the edited along with it. So you can see I've had to I obviously crop a lot, but I just use brushes and things and get rid of it. And what do you call those when you put the circle around it? I forget what that's called, but I blacken out the rest, stuff like that. You can tell I'm really good at this editing stuff. Okay, and here's another way that I have actually taken pictures of snowflakes. So up in the top corner is my original shot through the window of my kitchen, because sometimes it gets too cold to be out there. And the snowflakes were gathering on the window. And I have a northwest facing window there. And sometimes I get lucky. And when the snow is really fresh and fluffy, you can get these flakes piling up. And that's what happened. And so then on the bottom right is the edited version. And I added a touch of color because I felt like it helped bring out it was just a slider. It wasn't adding color. I just used a slider. And yeah, so that one was only 1/100th of a second. So I'm aiming basically straight into the light source there out the window.
Jenny, did you use your extension tubes on that one?
I did.
You did, okay.
Yeah. I might not have had I probably didn't have all of them on. Again, that's not recorded in my data, so I'm not sure, but I have, yeah, definitely used my extension tubes. And again, just trial and error, and best I can kind of do. And then these aren't snowflakes, but this is the frost on my window. And if you've seen Facebook and Instagram lately, I've put a couple up there. I have a window at the back that the seal is broken, so there's moisture in there, so it frosts up really well. We're gonna have to fix that next summer, but for now it gives me really good pictures. My husband just shakes his head at me. But here is the setup for that. So that's how close I am. And now that one I only have one extension tube on, I believe. But that's how big the frost was, and that's what I came up with. And then my favorite frost picture is this one, and you guys have seen this a few years ago. That was President's Choice was Shapes in Nature, I believe. And so that's one of my best of my frost shots. And that's it.
Gorgeous.
Jenny,
Yeah.
I just have a question. I'm just noticing your aperture on lots of them. You're like f5 or f8.
Right.
Are you having to use that kind of aperture because of the extension tubes? Like, you don't require much depth of field, so I'm just curious why you wouldn't open that up more.
Oh, come on, that's pretty technical. I have no idea.
That's the right.
Whatever works, baby. I'll trial and error.
She would do better with a going to f8, f9, f10 and get a better depth of field.
I would.
You've got beautiful images, but
Well, this is f8, and then what's this one? I can't see it. What does it say?
We can't see it
I
either.
don't see that one either.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's 5.6, 5.68.
Well, see, I was just curious because, they're flat images.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the thing is, so I can answer that. So sometimes the snowflake isn't flat on my thing. So I have tried to up the aperture in those cases to have more of the snowflake in focus. Because, you
You-
know,
you-
it lands on there and it's mostly flat, but there's that little eek that isn't flat. So,
Right. Okay, cool.
Jenny, you're using a tripod and you can increase the amount of shutter time you have exposing without having any effect and having a bigger depth of field, you will get an incredible image.
yeah, I have done them for really, like when I first started, I did like really long ones, like 15 seconds and stuff. So yeah, I have tried different ones, but I think it's with the light exposure and stuff that I have to crank it down a little. So
How long
even at
does your
100,
snowflake
even at 100,
last
yeah.
on the,
Pardon, Carmen?
how long does your snowflake last on the plexiglass?
Well, that's a good question. So I'm out in the garage and so it's pretty good, but you know, they even in the cold, they start to deteriorate. It's really bizarro. So I will go out and get snowflakes. And if I find a good one, I'll, you know, obviously I take quite a few pictures of it or whatever, make sure and try different, like you say, Scotty, different like f-stops and different things. If it's a really great one, I try different things to see how good I can get it. And then I just take a cloth, a soft cloth and just brush it off and go get more. So I'm in and out of there. I've probably gotten, you know, 15, 20 loads of snowflakes sometimes. Like it all depends. And sometimes I can't, sometimes I go out there and get snowflakes and there's nothing hardly to do. And it's just, so I go out and just do it again. So
will they last long enough that you can shoot one and then move your glass around and try
Yes.
another one?
yes. So, but still, you know, maybe a couple of minutes. And the other thing is too, I am working in the garage, so it's not a lot of wind, but there's gusts of wind and all of a sudden I'm taking a picture and the snowflake's moving. I'm like, no. So it's not like
Thank
they're
you.
solid on there. Yeah, good question.
I've had flakes last 15 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I've never worked on one that long because I don't know if maybe I don't have enough knowledge to know what to do next to do it more better-ish. But I'm only taking one picture, so I'm not doing. I tried focus stacking and I didn't know what to do. I don't have Photoshop, so I can't put them together very good. So Lightroom has something kind of about stacking, and I couldn't tell the difference between the one image and the stacked image. So I'm like, what's the point? I don't know if that's supposed to work on Lightroom or not. I don't know. Does it?
These
Is
are
that a
great,
stacking?
Jenny.
What's that, Connie?
These are great.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, well, and that's all I have. So I have to unshare my screen. Oh, you know what, you guys? I don't have. It says new share. Do I hit that? Oh, I guess so. My
Next to your green, you should be having a red option
Oh,
that
stop
says
share.
stop share.
okay.
There you go.
It's just that I don't see my cursor on there. It's the weirdest thing. Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank
For
you.
your help on
Jenny.
that.
Thank you. It was great.
Good stuff.
Judy, still there? Oh, she's muted.
No,
There you
I'm,
go.
I'm still here.
The next person I had was Dawn.
Yes,
Dawn, okay.
Dawn is next.
Dawn and then Sandy, is that it? Or-
No, Dawn, then Rob, then Sandy.
Rob, right. Sorry, Rob. Okay.
How soon they forget, Rob.
Yeah. Rob who?
I have this. It's not letting me share what I want to share. I'll try share screen 2. No. I guess I have to restart my slideshow.
There you go. You got it.
Here you go.
Got it.
Okay, there. So is that saying not my usual?
It sure is.
Okay, because I'm not seeing anything to indicate that
Okay,
it's
you
sharing at this
gotta,
point.
you must have to double click it though, because we're not seeing, oh, that's, okay, I see, it's individual shots, okay.
Yeah, it should be as a slideshow at the moment. We'll see. So my set of images is not called Not My Usual. And so for those of you who know me, you probably know what my usual is. For those of you who don't, I kind of brainstormed on what it is I usually like to photograph. And so my list when I wrote it down was bears, Yellowstone, bears, mountains, bears, other wildlife, bears. So I really like bears. This is not my usual though. So if you want to see some of my usual pictures, I am on Flickr and my name on there is Dawn the Road Again.
You have to blow that up for us. We can only see, at least I can only see your thumbnails.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. On my screen, I'm showing the whole picture. Like it's not showing the slideshow?
No.
Double click on the slide. You've got the cursor on there.
Ooh. Did that just made it really big on my screen?
Dawn, I would suggest closing your slideshow and then reopening it.
Okay, your screen sharing. Okay, so are you seeing my thumbnails now?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Okay.
now see them. Yeah.
And so when I'm going to double click on one of them to open it. Did you see it open full screen now?
No.
Nope.
No? Okay, so I'm going to try to stop share and now share again the open slideshow or share screen 2 when it's open.
Dawn, maybe you need to open.
There we
it
go.
up.
There we
That
go.
works.
There? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first time I had my slideshow open, it wouldn't let me share it, but it would let me share the thumbnails, but then not open my slideshow. Who knows? So there, now you can actually see. Not my usual, and my Flickr name there as well if you want to see my usual. So I prefer photographing animals over people. I prefer outside over inside. I prefer natural light over any artificial light. I prefer landscapes over cityscapes. I prefer documentary or realistic over artistic or heavily photoshopped. And it's not to say that I don't like other people's images like that. That's just not my style of what I create. In Photoshop, I do know how to straighten and crop and make my blacks black and my whites white, but that's about it. So these are some of not my usual. And we'll see if I can advance this now. There. So this image I called Heading Out for a Walk, and it's from back in 2011. Edited, I mean, obviously heavily in Photoshop Elements version 5. Now, yeah, exactly. Selecting was a pain. So all of that was manually cut out around the bear bit by bit by bit by bit. Zoomed in crazy, my eyes next to the monitor as I did it. It was a ton of work. I followed a tutorial about how to do this out of bounds or out of the frame looking image. Ton of work. It's kind of gimmicky. It's kind of dated in the style, but I kind of still like it. I still think it's a fun image of mine. It's totally different. It's the image I spent the most time on Photoshop ever, or Photoshop Elements by far. Like beyond that, I spend maybe 5 minutes working on an image if I'm heavily editing it in my mind. This was hours, but like I said, I like it. And the original image was mine, and of course it's bears, right? The next image here, gold and white, from 2010. I was staying up in Lake Louise and heading up to Moraine Lake to shoot sunrise in the morning. So I went up the night before to scout it out, find out where I wanted to be. What did the canoes look like up there? When I was up there that night, though, the light was terrible. It was cloudy. The light was flat, but I still wanted to take some pictures. So I wandered around and I saw these canoes and I just played with different white balances and I played with different exposure compensation. And this is the first abstract picture I've ever taken that I actually liked. I tried in the past. I never got anything I liked. I really liked this image. And I actually entered it in a photo contest for photos taken in the Canadian Rockies, and it was a 6-week contest, and I won one of the weeks. I didn't win the whole contest, but I won one of the weeks. There was some kerfuffle about it because it was taken in the Canadian Rockies, and that was the only rule. It didn't say it had to be taken of the Canadian Rockies. So I was very happy with this image, and I very carefully read the rules before I entered. Another picture that's not my usual style, but I was on a photography tour with a bunch of friends, and we spent 2 weeks in Iceland. And while we all were photographers and we all got up early and we all stayed up late and we all chased the beautiful soft golden light that hangs around for hours in June in Iceland, we'd like different things to photograph. And so you have to find a balance. And so we got dropped off in a village, a little fishing village, for a couple of hours. And I wandered around. I took the trophy shots, like oh, look, there's a beautiful harbor with some boats. And oh, look, there's a statue there that everyone takes a picture of. And then, okay, what am I going to do for the next hour and 50 minutes? Well, I had a bit of a rest because we've been up till like way late the night before. Then I got bored. So I grabbed my camera and I started exploring. And that's when I find things that don't look like my usual pictures. When I force myself to continue to take pictures after I've got my usual trophy shots. And I say trophy shots because they're the big ones that everyone gets from that place. So, but in the end, I really like the simplicity of this picture. And the next one here, okay, so this was taken in the mountains, but I don't think it's of the mountains. In 2017, I did an astrophotography workshop with Paul Zizka in Banff. You can see by the sky that it was not clear. We were not seeing the stars. So we did some other night photography stuff. This was out of my comfort zone. There's a person in my picture. Not only that, he was a hired model. The benefit of this specific model was he's also a photographer. So he understood what those of us on the workshop were trying to learn, and he was very cooperative with all of that. I had one of the assistants for the workshop was on my left, and she was operating a flashlight up on my direction. So I ran this photo shoot, which is so out of my comfort level, but I did it. Ended up taking an 8-second exposure here with the flashlight on for only 2 or 3 seconds. And now the trick to keeping a canoe still for 8 seconds, or at least even 2 or 3 seconds when the light was on it, the fellow that was in the canoe dug his paddle into the rocks in the lake so he could sort of anchor himself, hold himself really still, and get that picture. So one of the first pictures I've taken that has a person in it on purpose, like not just because they were in my way. I actually intentionally put this person in my picture. If I was to re-edit this, I tried to get the canoe to not look quite so yellow. It was a homemade, beautiful wood canoe, but it looks quite yellow, at least on my screen. And the next one here, this was taken in 2017. I had been out photographing waterfalls on a hike, and I had taken a bunch of pictures with a slower shutter speed and a tripod. And because I love that look of a waterfall with the like the streaky water running through it. And then on the hike back to the car, I saw this scene where the couple of trees in front were separate from the ones behind, and it looked kind of neat. So I thought, I'll take a quick picture. Grabbed my camera, took a picture. I forgot I was still on 1/6 of a second, which is not a handheld shutter speed, at least not for me. Like some people can train themselves to do this intentionally, to hold their camera really still. I didn't even know it was set that low. Once I realized, I reset my camera to the proper settings and I took another picture. When I got home, I liked this one so much better. And so ICM is intentional camera movement. I called this ACM, accidental camera movement. So I thought
happy accidents.
happy accident. It's another one. It's not totally abstract, but it's artistic, out of my usual, but I still like it. So those are my 5 photos.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Great, thank you.
Cool.
Rob,
My turn. Okay, I'm going to hit share screen. And there we go. Okay, so this you can see the whole photo, and you're not seeing all of the extraneous crap in here.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Okay, this photo is called LDOG, which is an acronym for Longest Day of Golf. It was taken on June 16th, 2000 at 9:44 p.m. Please remember that date and time. There's a quiz at the end of this. It was taken at the Gull Lake Golf Course. I was the editor of the Rimbey Review at the time, and that weekend I had the Rimbey Rodeo, and I had to cover that, and you have to stay till the end to get all the championship photos. But I had promised Eamon that I would get out to this fundraising golf tournament. And when I got there, I was very concerned, that I was rapidly running out of light, and I wasn't even sure if there were people there, but there were. This foursome was still on the course. They had started at daylight, so they'd been playing golf for about 16 hours, I'm guessing. So this is not a posed shot. I came down around the bottom of the bunker, and these guys were just walking out of the woods, and they stopped at the edge of the green, and they stopped because they were tired. And I snapped this silhouette shot, which became the front page of the June 19th edition of our newspaper. From a newspaper's perspective, for all the other things, there's a whole bunch of negative space if you wanted to drop a headline or a photo in photo or anything like that in it, but we didn't. It ran top of the fold, most of a half of a page. I like it because it captures the event, as in it identifies the event, and it also captures the mood. And of course, also captures the fact that it was a beautiful freaking weekend, as you can tell. The image would not have had the detail to support publishing it if it hadn't been a silhouette. The camera that I shot it with is a Coolpix 950. It, at the turn of the century, cost about $1,500. I was an early adopter, so I bought this sort of stuff as soon as I could. I bought it because I believed for the type of photos that we were putting in the paper, which would be grip and grins, small groups, headshots, sports activities, we could probably get away with it rather. And to be clear, that we were kind of making history because the Rimbey Review is the first newspaper to use digital photography, certainly in central Alberta. The Advocate started going digital about 2.5 years later. So this is the actual camera. And it was currently not in working condition. So I went down to McBain's, and Hank said I was too old to be repaired and that I had parts missing and they couldn't find them. So he very deftly did a sleight of hand and sold me a almost new copy of the same camera from the same era for $45. And so now it sits on a shelf beside this one. This is a look at the business side of the camera, magically just juxtaposed with the original image, just as it was shot almost 22 years ago. And there's a wink emoji that goes with that comment. This is Blackie and the Rodeo Kings. Central Music Festival's first festival was in August of 2007, 9:09 p.m. You don't have to remember that time. But before Blackie and the Rodeo Kings set could start, after a wonderful first day of a festival, tremendous weather, Central Alberta skies opened up and laid a serious beating on the festival site. Massive amounts of really pounding rain, lots of lightning, scared the crap out of everybody, drove almost the whole audience away. But once the torrent stopped, the festival site was soaked, and about 80 people were still hanging around, and Blackie and the Rodeo Kings decided to do their show acoustically in the merch tent. This photo is important to me because it's a good, honest photo of them performing. They're not posing, they're actually singing a song. And then I realized afterwards when I got home that the band's name and the performers' names are in the upper left above Colin Linden's right shoulder. So it's they were thrilled when they got this photo because they rarely get pictures of themselves like that. This was shot with an Olympus E300 camera with a Peter Fong diffuser on the flash pointed straight into the white tent ceiling. And I was standing in the middle of about 80 people in a small tent. And I noted that it was ISO 800. This photo is called The Leaf. Late fall 2012, I was on a business trip to Kelowna and had a couple of hours to kill before my flight back to Red Deer. It was recommended that I go to the Mission Creek Regional Park, and it was beautiful. It had been raining for a couple of days, but it stopped. The weather was improving, and I had some really interesting variable sunlight as I walked through this beautiful park. This leaf caught my eye, and I squeezed off a few frames. This is exactly as the leaf had fallen. It's laying on a cluster of green leaves on the branch below. I entered it in the CAPS competition and it placed first in intermediate color. That's the first I've ever gotten for photography, and I think maybe for anything. So it was kind of an interesting feeling, not being like third or fourth or sixth or whatever. This was shot with an Olympus OMD EM5 with a 12-50mm kit lens, f6.3, ISO 200 at 1/100th of a second. I had it made into a canvas in my living room. And we'll go back to that. Had it made into a canvas for my living room. And what else did I say about this? Yeah, that brief walk in the park was a very refreshing break after a couple of days of business meetings. And it was like being a kid in the candy store for taking photos. I probably have about, I don't know, more than a dozen images from that walk that are, that still today I look at them and say, boy, these are nice pictures of same sorts of things. Leaves, rotting wood, pine cones, the usual. This next one is a pan photo. I like this photo because it reminds me of the results you get when you do a little bit of forethought and planning. This was the MS Ride in 2015 on Highway 2A, just south of the Niobe elevator. So that's just north of Innisfail. I'm across the road on a side road at a site that I had scouted out before with a tripod. And then of course I had a whole bunch of willing models. I had all of these cyclists go through. So I had lots of opportunities to practice. And my hope was that a train would come along and I'd be getting motion from both directions. And that came to pass. I hadn't counted on the bright colors, and that was a bonus. What I really like about this photograph is that the spokes are perfect. There's enough material so you can see them and sense that they're spinning really fast, and they were. If the shutter speed had been slower, the spokes would have disappeared entirely, and the photo would have taken on more of a fake appearance. The rider's face is tight and the arm is tight, and that's tight enough that you can forgive the softness in some of the other details. I've taken a lot of pan photos, and when I was really into it, I got some really nice images. This one isn't the best, but it remains one of my favorites. And I encourage people to learn how to take pan photos and practice the technique, because once you get comfortable with it, it adds a serious dimension to photographs. One of the things that I find, and of course I've become a complete snob about it, is that somebody shows me a picture of a motorcycle or a bicycle and the spokes are stopped because it was shot at 500th of a second. And my first thought is, so this is going to fall over now. So that's my little sales pitch for learning how to do pan photos because they're so much fun. This again was shot with an EM5 with a 75-300 telephoto, f/20, ISO 800, and a 50th of a second. And my final image is the bunny, black and white, the awe factor. So there's the awe, and then there's the awe. And it is so inspiring to see wildlife and its vibrancy and vitality. And this was in my yard. I preferred the image as a monochrome. The bunny is actually kind of more brown and gray than black and gray. You've all seen these rabbits, so you know what I'm talking about. And it was taken at 9:22 in the evening, June 16th, 2015. The reason I'm telling you this is that's 22 minutes short of being exactly 15 years after the first photo, L-Dog, was shot. It was shot with the, I was kind of expecting some gasps of,
Wow.
there we go. Thank you for that. EM5, 1250 kit lens, f/5, 80th of a second, and ISO 3200. I like the bunny, but I also like the foliage. It has a bit of a mystical, magical storybook vibe to it. So you're seeing her, the bunny, and you're also seeing the world that she lives in. Another 3 feet back, and this would have been a baby rabbit beside a house. So that's my 5 and dime photos for you.
Yeah, great, Rob.
Way to go, Rob.
I like
Excellent.
it. Yeah.
And stop share. There we go.
Thank you, Rob.
Yeah.
Sandy, you're on.
Okay, well, let's hope I can share. I'm gonna,
It'll work for you, I'm sure.
oh God, my heart's pumping. I don't think it's gonna work, but I'm gonna push the button. Uh-oh, what's happening? Is this it?
Hey,
No.
here it is.
You did it.
Sandy Tudor.
I can't believe it. How do you like those two?
Nice pair.
Okay, well, as you already probably know,
That is a nice pair, Sandy.
yeah, they are really good looking, aren't they? They're so young looking too. No, okay. Well, this is just my title page. So I know I'm only allowed 5 birds. So, but you know, because they're a part of the title page, I might as well talk about these little guys. These are great horned owlets, obviously. And these were just taken, I didn't really put any of the technical stuff in my presentation, like Curtis. Not like you do-gooders out there. No, I don't know any of my settings. I could find them out, but I don't think it really matters. So these great horned owls actually are the most encountered in Alberta. So I've seen them a lot of great horned, and I have a lot of maybe not as great pictures of them, but I'm getting a little bit better in their flight mode and stuff. That's just with a lot of practice and trying to gain muscles, Connie, with carrying a big friggin' lens. The great horned owl is actually the heaviest along with the snowy owls. They might not be the biggest, but they actually are the heaviest owl out there. So, and I don't know if anybody knows, but they are actually have been named Alberta's provincial bird. And I don't know, they did a vote back in 1977 with children, and they named the great horned owl as Alberta's provincial bird. So it's just a little bit of background information on them. So I just love them. But my first slide, I'll get on to, if I can go down. Oh my gosh, is it not going? Oh, there we go. Thank God. Okay, I'm going to try to blow it up a little bit just to see how sweet their little faces are. I don't know if you guys can see. They're big.
Yeah, we can.
Oh, good. Big eyes. And that one guy's got his eyes squinted closed. These are little saw-whet owls. And these ones I found and photographed in like quite a few of our members in Sylvan Lake about 2 years ago. They were really close to a school and a path. And I actually ended up with 3 altogether. There was 5 in this family of little baby owls, and they were bloody cute. Oh my God, I could have went back daily to look at them, but I didn't. I had to hold myself back. But they are actually as big as a book, like 6.5, 8.5 inches tall. So they're really tiny, but they're very fierce. Don't get me wrong. They will eat another little bird or whatever. So they're about the size of a robin, I guess. So, but let me see. I'll go on to my next page. Oh, here we go. This little guy here is, oh, holy smokes, something happened. Oh, here we go. He's a northern pygmy owl. And this little owl is one of the littlest owls out there, I believe. I photographed him back in 2017 in January. You could tell by his little eyes how fierce he is. And he really didn't give a hoot that we were really standing there photographing him. I know I really wanted to say shit, but I controlled myself. So, but he, he let us photograph him for quite a while. We started on one side of the tree, and then I realized, I think I'm getting to be a better photographer. I realized the light was shining on the other side of the tree. So we had dark photos for about 10 minutes. We walked around the other side of the tree. He did look at us, and we did get some nice lit photos. But these little owls actually, they try to confuse their predators because they actually have little eyes in their feathers on the back of their heads. It's kind of cool. And they make songbird sounds, and they actually just kind of attract other little birds that they actually kill. And because of their size, they may have to drag them around for a while, but they actually will kill them and eat them. So they are quite a vicious little bird. But I haven't seen one since. So out by Nordegg, I love looking out there, but haven't seen one. So, but I'm going to go on to my next slide and see if it works. Holy, I'm going to try to take out this is the snowy owl. I was out snowy owl hunting today, and for hours and hours, and I found two little owls. Gail and I were just so excited to find 2 that we were happy just to go away with a couple of photos today. This was not one of the photos that I got today. This was an older photo, maybe last year's photo or something. But I go out every year at least once or twice just to see if I can capture them. I usually get their ass going away from me in the air. I might get their face a couple of times, but usually they don't fly towards you when they take off a pole, or they obviously are a little smarter than that. But this here is a female because of her plumages with the darker feathers in it. And if I can make this picture smaller, nope, that's not it. I think I blew it up. This is a male. He is pure white, and he, the older a snowy owl gets, a male snowy owl, the lighter the plumage gets. So an older male snowy owl is the most characteristic photo or picture people think of, is a bright white, full dress, just white. So that would be, to me, an older snowy owl. So I find them very magical and beautiful. And if I ever was given a choice to photograph anything, I think because they're out there, different kinds of owls, I would choose owls as my favorite thing to photograph. I photographed a lot of different owls, but I love the snowies. I don't know, they're just so pretty. But I will go on to my next photograph. This was taken out by Medicine Lake by Jasper, Alberta. This is a great horned, no, this is a great, no, this is my northern hawk owl, sorry. This is a northern hawk owl. I actually sat on the side of a hill and watched him catch that mouse that he has in his mouth. You can actually see the little eyes of the mouse, which is quite freaking creepy when you see him quite close. But it is a really cool picture. I actually caught him right from flying in to the ground, hitting and grabbing that mouse, coming back up and taking a photo of him. We sat there quite a while. And it was just so cool to see this. And I've never seen it again, but we've been out there quite a few times and I haven't seen them. But these guys winter here, or they spend their summers in the north because they like the cold, and they come down here when in our winter. It's like a lot of the owls, they're an eruptive species, where sometimes you might see them like for quite a few years in a row in the same area, or even, in different areas, but you might see them. And next thing you know, you won't see them for years to come. It could even be a decade. And next thing you know, they might come back in droves. I don't know if it's due to their feeding or what up north. If there's more there, they stay there longer, or they just stay there and say, screw Alberta. But, it just, I don't know, but it's very cool to understand the different species and why they come and how they come. Like the snowy, they give birth. I wouldn't have thought of it in a nest on the ground, but up north. And like most times you ever see them, you see them on the ground here, which they are higher up on the ground, obviously on the highest level of the fields, if you do see them on the ground. But I always mostly see them on higher things like big posts and stuff. And to know that they give birth on the ground in nests, it's kind of cool to me, but it's very interesting. So
Sandy, it's a little difficult for them to do it in a tree because there aren't any.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
I studied them when I was up there in 1976, and I had 2 nesting snowy owls in my walk, and they laid up to 14 eggs.
Mhm.
And I watched them grow, the chicks hatch up to the stage of flying.
Wow, that would be a very cool experience. How exciting. Huh,
Yeah.
I never even thought that there would be no trees, huh? Well, thanks for that, Scotty. I
Yeah.
like that. So the Great Gray, well, if I had to pick one out of all of those, I know I said the snowy, but you know what? The Great Gray, oh my God, he has such a unique face, like that flat face, and he's so impressive. This Great Gray, I took this picture, this one here, about 3 days ago. And he let us take pictures of him for quite a while. Like we left, came back, left again, kept thinking we won't come back, but we didn't want to bother him, but we came back and he really didn't care. He actually flew towards us and got closer to the ground so we could get even better pictures. He is, like I said, he's an eruptive species too, where he may go, because years ago I used to see lots of them. And then I've just started seeing them come back to the same area where I used to see them all the time. And it's exciting. So I'm hoping I'm going to see more of them. But this one here is largest not by weight, but size. This is the same owl, so I'm not cheating by giving you another owl picture. This is the same owl. He is just flying into this tree, but you could see how big his wingspan is. You can't see it. His legs are stretched out coming towards that tree, but the next photo I got look at this guy's legs. I've never got a picture like this before, like 3 days ago. Look at how long his little legs are. Like this, I was going, what the hell is hanging off him? And it was his legs. I couldn't believe it. But so cool, so cool. Very impressive owl, but they are hard to find and it takes so many hours to find them. But you know what? One photo, even like that, it's worth my whole day of driving. So I love owls. So that is my presentation, folks. I hope you liked it.
That was great, Sandy.
It's really good.
Thanks.
Awesome. Awesome.
Oh, now I got unshare. Hold on, I got to figure that out. Holy.
I'm trying to figure out where he tucks those legs though.
I
Like,
know. Like you tell me.
God.
Right up underneath his
Yeah.
back feathers. And when they fly, it looks like they don't have a head. So Sandy Chinsky, I'm trying to figure out, you guys, I can't seem to see a.
I don't know, Sandy, that looks suspiciously like you standing behind that owl.
Are those my legs?
Sandy, there should be a
up
red,
there.
thing. That's what there you go.
There.
There we go. I got it. Thanks. Oh.
You're muted, Mark.
Back to you, Mark. Where is he?
There we go. Okay, not
Did he
unmuted
leave?
anymore. I was on mute, but gone off mute now. So yeah, thanks everybody for tonight. It was fun. On behalf of the presenters, thanks for letting us into your homes tonight to present this to you, and thanks to the other presenters too. It was it's really cool to see the different types of photography that the club has. It was an eye opener. It was really cool. So hopefully we can do it again sometime.
I think we should do this again next year, and we need 6 different people.
Yeah,
So
Absolutely.
everybody get working on that.
emphasis on different people,
Different people.
different people.
And Rob, what do I win for June 16th, 2000?
I have a vintage film changing bag for you, still
Whoa.
in the original packaging.
Wow. Okay.
Why did you win this?
I don't know. You said there was a prize for remembering the date.
No, I didn't. I said there was going to be a quiz.
Oh, a quiz.
Too late. You're going to get the film changing bag in its original packaging anyway.
Oh, gee, thank you. Okay, I will get the link out as soon as I can, and any other notes I can think of. And again, if you're interested in the learning the camera basics, please let us know as soon as you can, so we can figure out a date and time to run that. Okay. So
And one other point, Mark, if people can mention the model of camera that they're shooting currently, I'll try to get up to date on some of the ones that I'm less familiar with. And then if they ask a specific question about their camera, I might be able to answer it.
that'd be anything made in the last 10 years, Rob?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Good
Thanks,
night.
Mark. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good stuff, everybody.
Hey, everyone.
Right.